Okay, now I can't stop laughing.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast, where we discuss the world of film from a fresh angle. And now your host, Robert Yaniz Jr.
Welcome to the Crooked Table Podcast. This is Rob. This is the show where we bring fans and critics alike to talk about films that meant something to them, whether it's a film that they grew up with or something recent that really emotionally resonated with them. So this week I am pleased to be joined by longtime friend, the famous Ashley Grant. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Woo-woo!
I love the enthusiasm.
Good to be here.
I love the enthusiasm. Yeah. So normally this is where we explain how we know each other. So you want to explain a little bit about who you are and how we met and everything?
Oh my God, we go way back. We're talking as old as the movie we're discussing today is how long we've known each other, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So we have known each other since we were in high school. We were working at AMC together, and then after we were working there, we actually followed each other into the same field. Lo and behold, we both ended up in the career of journalism, and now we create content online for our imaginary friends.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, you went full-time freelance like long before I did, and in fact, I think I kind of credit you as you're probably one of my inspirations for why I should I should try that. Look, Ashley's doing it. She's making a living, not working the 9 to 5, because I did that for a long time between AMC and going freelance full time at least, and so. Thanks to you, that's part of the reason that I guess I felt like it could be done, because I knew somebody that was doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I mean, October 2007 was whenever I decided, I'm proudly unemployable, and I've been freelance writing ever since. I mean, yeah, I've had a couple stints at random 9 to 5s here and there, because freelancing is so insane. It's it's a roller coaster. Sometimes you don't know if you're gonna have steady income or not, but for the most part, yeah, it's since October of 2007 I've been very proud to be in the freelance world, and because I just don't like authority. I don't like writing. I don't like working for one person. I have to get fired by 8 people before I'm completely unemployed, and I'd rather have that than the insecurity of jobs nowadays.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, plus the whole waking up early and having to deal with traffic and being kind of at the mercy of a big corporation and having your hours set. I mean, you and I both like the ability to work whenever, whether it's early in the morning or 3 o'clock and 3 a.m. in the middle of the night or whatever. It's nice to have that time freedom to be able to do things when you feel motivated, not when you're supposed to be on, I think.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm a huge fan of the fact that we can work anywhere with Wi-Fi. The fact that we don't have to be anywhere at a specific time, that we're not going to get written up if we're 5 minutes late, or, oh, you want to take a 2-hour lunch? I'm going to dock your pay. I love the fact that we have the freedom to do what we do. And I feel like it makes us better content creators, because instead of being stuck in a box, we're able to actually produce, decent content. And if we work faster, we don't get, hurt for it. We still get the same amount of pay. And so it actually motivates us to do more work and faster. So I just, yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of being a freelancer.
So you should tell the people a little bit about, what you do, where they can find you. And this is sort of your shameless self-promotion spot.
Fantastic. Well, in my little space on the interwebs, I'm known as Famous Ashley Grant, and my website is famousashleygrant.com. It is my Get Internet Famous experiment. I do not want to be Kardashian famous, but I'd be perfectly content being J.K. Rowling famous, minus the paparazzi. On my website, I actually do, since you mentioned the freelancing thing, I do have a course that I teach people how to be freelance ghostwriters, because that's one of the big things that I've been doing since 2014 is I've been doing a lot of ghostwriting. And I may not get the credit for that kind of stuff, but I always get the cash, and I'm okay with that. But in the meantime, while I'm building my internet fame, I'm loving the fact that I can produce content for other people and make their lives a little bit easier and give them a voice.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and I mean, that's something I've dealt with. You actually helped me kind of get into ghostwriting a little bit too. So definitely check out Ashley's website and everything. You always seem like you have about 14 different things going on, which I don't even know how you managed to do that, because even just to do the podcast for me, well, raising a daughter and trying to get other work done and like sort of being a stay-at-home dad in addition to the other things that I do, I don't know how you get everything done. Like you always seem so enthusiastic and like upbeat, and I think that's very impressive. So just wanted to point that out to our listeners.
I think it's my ADD that helps.
Caffeine, get to probably things like that.
Yeah, there's never a dull moment, and I thrive on it. I love it. Like I get such a kick out of the fact that no 2 days of mine are the same, and I just get a kick out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So naturally, I wanted to bring you onto the show with the new format, and when I brought to you the idea of the premise of the show and everything, you named a movie that I was not expecting, because it's one that I feel like I barely heard of. It really flew under the radar. I think it made very small at $23 million at the box office on a $15 million budget, and it's weird that it slipped past so many people, including myself, just because it does have a lot of big stars in it and everything. So, or people that would become big stars down the line. A lot of character actors and things like that. So I guess we should just go ahead and announce that the feature presentation for this episode is the movie Confidence from 2003. So let's listen to a little bit of the trailer right now.
Confidence game is like putting on a play where everyone knows their part. Lionel, he's dead.
What about the money?
Everyone except for the mark.
I can't be here!
You guys were late.
You guys got a lot of sack, man.
It's confidence. So it's confidence. So what do you hear?
It seems Lionel's an accountant for the king.
Hey, what's a king?
I'm not gonna hurt you. Not a violent man. I like to think I'm above that.
Yeah, well, we all can't be model citizens such as yourself.
Oh, yeah. You took my money. What's gonna happen now?
I play a cut. You get a cut, I get a cut, we get square.
All right.
That was a little bit of the trailer for Confidence. And Ashley, since you're the expert on this film, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about what the film is about? Like, what's the plot?
Well, the Reader's Digest version of what the movie is it's literally about con artists who are trying to pull one big score. They, since this is such an old movie, and we did say that there probably wouldn't really be any spoilers, considering the fact that, if you haven't seen it by now, well, goodness gracious, that's not my fault. It's, 16 years old?
Yeah, 2003.
Yeah, it's insane. So, if you are being spoiled by this, sorry, not sorry. What kind of drew me to the movie, is that there's so many actors in it. Like you said, there's a lot of stars in it, and just the fact that we're seeing these people like trying to pull off a heist, basically. Well, not heist, because that makes it sound like a bank robbery, but it's a confidence game. Like, that's the idea behind the movie. Is it's not just run of the mill, trying to steal from people or whatever. It's that they get them into an act. Like, they're putting on a show to swindle people out of money. And in the opening of the movie, you see a couple characters basically getting swindled, and what happens next is what basically causes the rest of the movie. How much can I give of this? How much can I tell?
Well, we'll get into the specifics in a little bit, but yeah, basically they're already in the middle of a con, fleecing somebody. I like all the lingo in this. We'll get to that.
Yes.
Because everybody has they have their own language, everybody in this world. But yeah, that's the inciting incident that sets off the main plan.
Yes, and I was so drawn to it because I was a huge fan of Rachel Weisz because of the movie Constantine, and I love Paul Giamatti in Sideways. So when I saw they were both in a movie together, and then I saw what the premise of the movie was, I was like, oh my god, I got to watch this movie.
So that's a good segue, actually. When did you first see Confidence? And
the first time I saw it was probably when it came out, I'd have to say. And then I completely forgot it existed, forgot I'd ever seen it, because, I see so many movies that I sometimes forget that I've ever seen them. And so I was scrolling through some movies one day. I can't remember how long ago that was, but there was a free trial of Cinemax on Prime channels on Amazon, and I saw it go up, and I was like, okay, that's it. I gotta watch it again, and fell in love with it all over again. I'm a huge fan of the series Leverage. I don't know if you're familiar with that TV series, but it reminded me a lot of that series. And so I was just hooked right away and had to watch it again. And I've watched it a couple times since then. And, I told you I just watched it again yesterday.
So you when I mentioned the idea of the podcast to you and wanting to have you on, your first idea was to talk about kind of heist or con man films, like in general. So what is it about the genre that you love generally speaking, and then what made you select this film, amongst that, rather than Ocean's 11 or The Italian Job or something like that's better known?
Oh, I love those too. Don't get me wrong. I mean, even Inside Man with Clive Owen. I mean, anything where the little guy is trying to swindle the big guy and get away with it. I don't know why, but
situation, yeah.
Yes, the Robin Hood type situation. Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. And I think one of the big things is I am such a goody two-shoes. I've never, been arrested. I'm always very cautious to not get in trouble with anybody. And so I think the movies that, involve, robberies and con artists and things like that, I think the reason I'm so drawn to them is because it is a completely, that would never happen. I would never do something like that. And so I'm drawn to see how they could get away with it and see that opposite side of me that doesn't exist.
Live vicariously through the characters, I guess.
Exactly. Absolutely. Because, I mean, the funny thing about these films in this genre is you always want the bad guy to win. You can't help it. You get so sucked in that you're like, okay, how in the world is this guy going to get away with it? And you almost feel bad if they get caught or if anything goes wrong. You're like, oh man, that poor guy, even though he's breaking the law.
Well, a lot of times I feel like what they do is they create an even worse guy who they're stealing from. Plus, they make the quote-unquote good guys so charming that you're just like, oh, you can't lock up Danny Ocean. Look at him.
Exactly.
Look how horrible. Andy Garcia stole his wife, blah, 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 whatever. And I think this movie really leans into that angle as well, setting up Dustin Hoffman as sort of the villain of the piece. And Edward Burns has a very much smooth kind of demeanor to him as well.
Can I just say I got an absolute kick out of the fact that Dustin Hoffman was the villain in this.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I loved every second of watching how uncomfortable he made me.
It's not something he does very often. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking of Hook maybe, and other than that, he's usually fairly sympathetic or someone we want to root for,
Well, and I mean, one of the very first movies I ever saw him in that I fell in love with him for was Tootsie. Right. And in that movie, he's such a lovable character. You're rooting for him as he's acting like a woman the whole way through the whole movie. Have you seen Tootsie?
Oh yeah, that's a great movie.
Yeah, great movie, great film. And so to see him go from, this lovable guy that you're rooting for all the way to one that you're like, oh, I can't wait to see them steal from him. It was just wild to go on that ride. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And I definitely think that his performance here, I think, is one of the more surprising and kind of playful elements of the film. So if you're ready to jump right into spoilers, we can just jump into the review section here.
Sure, I'm down.
Awesome. So right out the gate, the movie has they as you were saying, they're in the middle of a plan, but they, I think, already try and catch the audience kind of off guard because he starts off saying, oh, so I'm dead, that whole thing, and you think that something's going on, and it already kind of subverts your expectations. I think that was a really cool way of opening the film, already kind of embracing the relationship between the audience and the movie, and having Edward Burns' character speak directly to us, breaking the fourth wall immediately into it. Is that a big part of why this movie connects to you?
It could be that, and also the fact that, as soon as he opens his mouth and says, so I'm dead, you're immediately going, okay, so you're trying to con me too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, so I get a kick out of it whenever there's, whenever the characters speak to us directly. I think that's awesome. I think it's fantastic because it brings you in a way that other movies might not. Like, you almost want the character to talk to you, but they don't. And it's like, whenever he directly addresses you, I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of those openings where you're so lulled into the fact that, oh man, Rachel Weisz betrayed him, and then like throughout the whole movie they're making you think they're making you think that's the case, and then only to kind of pull the rug out from you as it goes along. Plus, early on it was basically like a festival of character actors. Like, everyone that showed up, I was like, hey, Donald Logue, Paul Giamatti, and Louis Guzman, and Morris Chestnut. I was like, there's a lot of people in this movie.
It really is, and that's why I think it's interesting that, like you said, it kind of flew under the radar, and no one really knew about it because, there are such powerhouse people in this film, and I feel like it could have been so much more than it was, but maybe it'll be like in 20 years we're going to hear about all the cult following that it has. Who knows?
Well, and it's funny too because Edward Burns is not an actor who's really relevant anymore. So in that way, the movie kind of feels like a time capsule of the early 2000s or late 90s, early 2000s. Hey, you remember when Edward Burns was a movie star?
Yeah, like, what was the last decent thing he did? 27 Dresses, and he wasn't even the star.
It's been a while. And then Rachel Weisz is now here she was just a few years after The Mummy, and she was acclaimed, but not like now. She's like, every time she's in a movie, she's nominated for awards and everything like that. She's nominated for, she was just nominated for a Golden Globe last night for The Favorite, as of this recording. And,
that's right. And I forgot she was also in Born Legacy. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, she's one of those actresses now that's probably one of the more appreciated of our time, of her generation, So it's funny to see her in a movie that nobody saw, where she's like maybe I guess second or third lead in this film, and she's not really carrying it. It's Edward Burns' movie, and Rachel Weisz is supporting. I think that's interesting dynamic, and how the industry has kind of swung the other direction on the pair of leads in this one. Yeah.
I mean, and the fact that, I mentioned Constantine again because I absolutely loved her in that film. But in that film, she's the innocent, it's kind of like the whole Dustin Hoffman thing.
Right.
You're used to seeing her as an innocent. Grant you, she did Constantine after Confidence, but I saw Constantine first. And it's interesting to see her, be the bad guy in the film. I just, I don't know, something about how she is in the movie. It's like she has the confidence I wish I had. Just the outfits she wears and the words that she says and her demeanor. It's like, I wish I had that. I wish I had confidence.
Yeah, it's true in a way. And then he says that Edward Burns, Jake actually says that multiple times throughout the movie. Oh, it's about confidence, like about this lifestyle. It's confidence, man, because it's kind of the most important part of pulling a scam. Is to have that confidence. And it's interesting here, as you said, she does a lot of times play the innocence or like the naive, someone who's in over her head, like even in The Mummy, or in there's a movie that called The Brothers Bloom that she did with Adrian Brody and Mark Ruffalo, and she kind of plays like very bubbly type of character in that. And here she's more like the moody, like femme fatale almost.
The sultry temptress.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it's an interesting kind of against type for her, especially at this point in her career, to see her do that. So the movie, it's interesting. In my research for this, I discovered that it's directed by James Foley, who did movies like Glengarry Glen Ross, but also most recently did the 250 Shades sequels, which I thought was interesting. I was like, oh, so that's where his career went.
That's, sex sells.
Yeah, there you go. I thought that was just kind of random, and I wanted to throw that out there.
Though, about the Glengarry Glen Ross, that's fascinating because I mean that totally isn't that a confidence game too?
It kind of is, and yeah, he's got a really interesting career and doing House of Cards and things like that. So it's interesting to see him doing this film early on with these such huge stars and having it, I guess, not particularly pan out because it was a mild financial success. As I said, 23 off of a budget of 15. So, so let's just, I guess, kind of take this from the beginning. So they're doing the scam. They fleece the money from Wesley, I forget his name, something or other, but ends up being money that belongs to the king, played by Dustin Hoffman. So when we kind of talked about his performance a little bit already, about he doesn't usually do the villain and that kind of thing. So what I found most interesting about his character is that he like toes this line between playful and sleazy, where he's like, he's like almost quasi flirting with Jake at some points. And then when the two girls are like, making out and stuff, he gets like morally offended. It's like, no, it needs to be tasteful. So he's all about tastefulness, but then he's like, he's basically a gangster essentially. I mean, he's an independent, as they say in the movie, but I thought that was a really interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, that cracked me up because he's like, your sisters, if you're going to be doing something sexual, you got to be tasteful. Really? Like, sisters shouldn't be doing something sexual together anyway.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's definitely very amusing. And I was so uncomfortable watching Dustin Hoffman's character, the king, he's the king, whenever he's grabbing Lily's chesticles, for lack of a better phrase. Like, it was just like, oh, get your paws off her, you creepy old man.
And he has this way of, it's both revolting, but also, like, he's kind of charming and likable in his own way. Not charming, but, like, likable. He's fun to watch in that role. And then he even kind of has that, like, in that moment with Rachel Weisz, with Lily, where he's sort of intimidating, but he's, like, he and us, and we're sort of unsure if she's actually kind of into it. You remember that? Yeah. I was like, okay, I remember. I don't know what's happening here, and I'm not sure I want to.
I'm going to just keep doing it because she seems to be liking it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, is she really liking it, or is she thinking about stabbing you? Yeah, that was definitely interesting. And I have to say, one of the things that fascinated me the most was when Dustin Hoffman's character realizes he's been swindled. He just laughs about it. Like, he's so proud of Jake for doing it that he couldn't help but laugh. He was just like, yeah, good for you. You got me.
It's like that. It was like that. Oh man, I ain't even mad. That kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know I'm going to jail and this really sucks, and I'm gonna get you when I get out. But for right now, good for you, buddy.
You earned this one. Yeah, and it's kind of an honor amongst thieves kind of vibe between all of them, where they all respect each other's abilities. And Jake really kind of pushes it with the king. I mean, he even comes back asking for like another 250 or whatever to pull off the scam. And because he owes him 150, and then I think he asked for another 200 on top of that.
Yeah. Yep, he sure did, and that definitely takes not just balls but confidence.
Yeah, exactly.
See what I did there?
I see. Well played. Well played. Of course, we have Paul Giamatti doing his kind of neurotic thing that he does. And one thing that I think the movie really embraces, and I found kind of key to why these characters are as fun to watch or as relatable or whatever as they are, is that virtually everybody, like the screenplay really focuses in on character quirks. You know what I mean? Like, the king has his very specific thing, but he wants a 4-shot espresso, and he's, his persona is very well defined. And then Paul Giamatti has this fear of is very particular about the bathrooms that he goes in, and everybody has their little things, and I thought that was interesting, because that kind of color is what makes these characters feel alive, rather than just carrying rather than the audience just feeling carried through a tale without really ever caring about the stakes, about what these people have kind of on the line. And I thought that was a fun way. Right, exactly. I thought that was a fun way to give these actors something tangible to work with too.
Yeah. And I absolutely love, I adore Paul Giamatti. I mean, seriously, him in Sideways was so freaking good. And I feel like this was just another version of him from Sideways. So this was undrunk Paul.
Right. Sober Paul Giamatti.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But you kind of want to give him a glass of wine and tell him, that's okay, buddy. You can go to the bathroom wherever you want.
And then the whole bathroom thing ends up being kind of a key element later in the plot too, when he goes to the bathroom at was it at the airport or something? He goes to
Yes, it was at the airport.
That whole thing. So, and a lot of those elements of the characters kind of pay off, which I thought was fun to watch.
I did agree with one part though. Whenever Jake says that Lily shouldn't have dyed her hair red, I agree completely.
Yeah, I agree with that.
She could have kept it brown. I would have preferred that.
Yeah, I do too. It's and he's that's another character quirk. He's very superstitious. The movie kind of goes into not only with the red hair, but also with the birds and how they symbolize death. They show up a couple times, and he's like, "Uh-oh, we're screwed. You just fucked us." That whole thing.
Yeah, but he found a lucky penny, so that meant that the final heist was all going to go okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Of course, it didn't go okay for what was his name, Lewis.
Lupus.
Yeah, Lupus. Yeah.
Yeah.
It didn't go well for him. He didn't make it out of the movie.
No, I mean, to be honest with you, that twist I kind of figured that was coming, because they kept,
I would have quit watching if it hadn't come.
they kept building up to the not only him being shady with them and betraying them, but the fact that he was the one that killed Big Al early in the movie, because he keeps asking him, he's like, "Oh, after this is over, you're going to tell me, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was him, dude." Just, FYI.
Yeah, I think we all knew it was him from the beginning, that bastard.
Yeah. Movies like this, I feel like they have to find a way to give little twists that we can figure out so that we don't see the bigger twists coming. You know what I mean?
But let's face it, we all knew the second that Jake said he was dead, he was alive. We all knew that.
Sort of. we suspected that. I've seen movies where
fine, we hope.
There you go. Well, because a previous episode I did on American Beauty, and in that movie, it starts with the main character talking about being dead, and he actually dies at the end of it. So I was unsure which way they were going to go with it.
Too soon, man. Too soon.
Yeah.
But then again, we can't talk about Kevin Spacey because all the lawsuits.
Well, yeah. Kevin Spacey is one of those, like, we just don't talk about that person anymore. We just sidestep. That's why I specifically said, "Oh, in American Beauty, the man who is the main character in that film says
the man
this."
We shall not mention.
Yeah, the Lord Voldemort of American Beauty.
That's funny. And yet we mentioned James Foley in House of Cards, so it is all coming full circle.
There you go. That's how it works. It's all connected.
6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Sort of. Where was he in this movie? That would have been a good addition.
Oh, that would have been a fantastic addition.
Kevin Bacon he knows how to play this kind of he knows how to toy with audience expectations as well. If you've seen him in
absolutely. I mean, come on, did you see Wild Things?
That's exactly what I was going to say. In Wild Things.
I really wonder if he did his own nude scene in that movie, though. I'm just curious.
I think so. This is now a tangent, but I'm pretty sure it's a full frontal shot.
Oh yeah, it's
right?
full frontal.
So
his face is frontal in that movie.
I don't think that movie had the budget to do like digital face replacement or anything. So I'm pretty sure that's the full bacon in that movie.
That's the full bacon?
The full bacon.
Oh my god. Hashtag full bacon.
There you go. So in this one, I was kind of alluded to it earlier about all the lingo. I really thought that was another thing about this movie that I thought was really kind of fresh, because even in a lot of these con/heist movies, you don't get like this. You understand that everybody in the film knows what they're doing, but they don't like formulate a language for the games that they're setting up, basically. I mean, Lily's the shill in this. They fleece people. Like, everything is very specific.
And you got the mark.
Yes, yeah. See, everybody's, they have specific terminology, I think, for things, which helps create that world where people like you and I who aren't pulling cons can kind of get absorbed and lost in the fantasy of, well, it must be cool to just run around running scams and making money, and then you can kind of...
Well, and one of the fascinating things is that it shows you just how much planning has to go into all of this stuff. It's not like you just wake up one day and you're gonna swindle somebody. You have to have a background, a story to go with, and it's interesting how they actually give us a little sneak peek into the world of crime, even though it's probably completely dramatized and it's not nearly that fun, because you know as well as I do that in the real world, if you do something like that to someone where you're swindling them, they're probably not going to give you a second chance. They're just going to shoot you. Mm-hmm. And it is very interesting how it's all dramatized and romanticized. And I think that's one of the other reasons that I like these types of movies so much, is because it does romanticize them, and you kind of almost forget they're breaking the law.
Yeah, and I mean, as far as the business side of things, in the wake of Ocean's 11, which was 2001, I think this movie was probably part of the industry just being like, oh, okay, you like heist movies? Here, we'll push these through to development, because Italian Job, I think, came out the same year. This is right like in the sweet spot where all the studios are trying to get these kinds of movies out there. And really
there were a lot of
capitalize on
actors
that.
in Italian Job too. I mean,
Yeah.
and I didn't even know it was a remake until recently.
Oh, yeah. Michael Caine from like the 60s, I think.
Yep. But I mean, come on, let's just face it. Marky Mark is way better in the film.
Well, plus Charlize Theron and Edward Norton.
Oh, I love Charlize Theron in it. And I mean, Edward Norton, I've loved Edward Norton ever since I first saw Fight Club. I'm obsessed with Fight Club. I can't believe I didn't suggest that we talk about Fight Club. But, the first rule is you don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why I was trying to come up with another movie.
Nice.
That's complete bullshit. That's not what happened.
Okay, so we want to talk more about, let's talk about Andy Garcia, who shows
Yes!
up midway
Oh my
through this
God.
movie, and I was like, wait, what the hell is this? It felt like a huge kind of shift, and all of a sudden where I saw his name on the on the DVD box, and I saw it in the credits or whatever, and I was waiting for Andy Garcia to show up, and when he did, it was not what I expected. It was just kind of this sketchy, I guess, government agent, without getting into what agency, which ends up being a key thing later on. And it feels almost in a way like a kind of like a subplot from another movie, just thrown in there like halfway through. How do you feel about the Andy Garcia? What was his name? Bhutan. For a second, I was like, "What's his name again?" Bhutan and his whole deal, I guess.
I loved his Thai story.
That
You have to
was
watch
funny.
the movie, but I loved his Thai story that cracked me up. But I loved him in the role that he had. I thought it was absolutely hilarious because it was like, you already knew a double cross was coming, but then it was like a double cross meets a triple cross meets a what's going to happen next.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
And I thought it was hilarious that they, added one more spin to the mix, and you think for just a second, like, oh my God, all these characters are about to all go to jail because, this guy really is going to figure out everything that's going on, and he's going to throw them in jail. And then you're like, oh my God, he's in on it.
Well, and then they it's the payoff for much earlier in the film where he's saying, oh, we need a guy in customs. And then you totally forget about it until the end where you're like, oh, that was the guy in customs.
Yeah.
Which I thought was kind of a cool way to slip that past us, where it didn't feel like a twist that came out of nowhere because they planted it so early on in the film.
It was a plant within the beginning.
That's right.
It all makes sense now.
They fleeced us, these bastards.
They fleeced us. They fleeced us 3 ways from Sunday.
They did. There was also
Jake's
a lot
not
of
dead. Lily's not a bitch, and Bhutan was in on it.
That's right. We just didn't have yeah. Pretty much, you covered it.
Yeah.
Spoilers.
Yeah.
That was a spoiler bomb.
Like I said, it's completely the audience's fault if they're being spoiled right now.
Well, it's a 16-year-old movie. I mean, yeah.
16 years, absolutely. This is our throwback episode.
Yeah. Everybody has a different opinion on what the statute of limitations is on spoilers, but I'm pretty sure 16 years is way past that.
I think so. I mean, I would hope so.
There was also, I noted here, a lot of cool, stylized choices that the director makes. Like, I thought the personal ad kind of thing for to try and find the different marks, and it's like placing a personal ad, looking for the perfect mark, and it's like, must have this thing or whatever, and they kind of the text was popping up on screen as he was evaluating the different potential marks. I thought that was a really fun and visually dynamic way of doing that.
Yeah, that it was very funny. It's like it kind of makes me think like if the movie was made today, it'd be like they would have showed Tinder,
Yeah.
like Tinder for con artists.
Swipe left.
Swipe left if this is your mark. Swipe right if this is not.
Right, exactly. And
I don't even know if it's swipe left or swipe right. I've never been on Tinder.
I was about to say that, and then you said swipe left, swipe right. I was like, okay, maybe she knows because I don't know what's going on.
I honestly don't know. I've been married for more than a dozen years. I have no idea anything about Tinder. I'm very ignorant about that, and I'm okay with that.
Same. In a way, I'm kind of glad that I got out of the dating thing and I got married and all before all of this stuff, because now it seems really confusing and convoluted. I'm like, I don't need to deal with any of that swiping stuff. Thanks, I'm good.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what was that movie? He's just not that into you. Like, you have to be rejected 7 times before you're sure he doesn't want to be with you.
Right, exactly. So there's also the next. Thank you, next. Nice. That's a topical reference.
This is a pop culture show, right?
It is. There was also the top 3 worst redheads little tangent when she shows up with the red hair, where they run down why he hates that, and I thought it was kind of a slick way of throwing in a little backstory for Jake, talking about his mom that abandoned him and that kind of thing, but without really like wallowing in that part of it, because it's not really that kind of movie.
Yeah, there's no wallowing in this film, and I like that, actually, because I don't want to wallow. I want to be entertained, and I want to, the really bad guys, I want them eliminated, and then I want the not so bad guys to get away with everything. Yeah,
and it's considering the movie is like, I think 93 or 97 minutes. It's very brisk. Like a lot happens in the movie just because it has such a fast pace.
Which I actually like, because I can't stand films that are so long and drawn out that you're just like, oh my God, we could have been done and getting pizza in 60 minutes. Like, did we really have to go and see all of this bull crap in the background? No, we don't. And that's why I like how short this flick is, because, you get in, you get out, and you get on with your business.
Right. Well, it's kind of like...
just like a robbery.
Right. I was going to say, actually, more specifically, like Jake and Lily in the jewelry store, which was a great scene. I thought that really established the chemistry between Rachel Weisz and Edward Burns, where they basically swindle that guy out of the diamond earrings, and they trick him into buying the diamond earrings for them. I thought that was a great encapsulation of the kind of work that they do, but it was also kind of a sort of a test for Lily, I guess. And as you were saying, I think getting in, telling the story, and then getting out in 90 so minutes before even the audience realizes what's going on, and keeping that pace going so that we don't try and dissect what's happening on screen before, figure out the twists before they happen, that kind of thing. I think it fits this genre of films specifically more than it might be like, a historical epic or whatever. It's you get in, he runs his con and he gets out, and at the end we're just all, kind of swept up in it before we really got a chance to realize what was happening.
Just like the Mark, just like a Mark is gonna then later have to pick up the pieces and analyze what just happened. I think it's perfect. Absolutely.
So what else? I liked the moment. I liked the scene in the bar with Leon, where they sort of rein him into, they bring the Mark into the plan, that recruitment scene. And I've seen that actor in other things before. I think he was on way back in the day, like the Drew Carey Show or something. John Carroll Lynch, that guy. And they did a good job creating a character who is sympathetic in that he's kind of like a little bit of a sad sack, kind of saddled in this corporate job, where it feels plausible that he would sort of look the other way and downplay in his own mind how complicit he's being in what may or may not be happening right under his nose.
Absolutely. And you could totally see that character. We were talking about being in a 9-to-5,
right.
The soul-sucking day job, that kind of stuff. You could see someone wanting to turn against their employer in that fashion. And that I completely agree. He played that role perfectly.
And then the little things that, having worked in corporate America, I find are really kind of funny. There's the whole thing where he mentions that he's a VP, and they're like, oh, so it's basically you, and then the president. And he's like, yeah, sure, yeah. Even though we all know there's about a bazillion VPs at every large company, and that it's basically a nothing middle management title.
Yeah.
I thought that was really funny. And because they're talking about the bubble bursting in tech in the tech world, and Lily's really playing up the sexiness with him and like kind of flirting and that kind of thing. I thought that was a fun moment where you, again, as you mentioned, sort of get to be a part of their crew in a way.
You get roped in.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to be part of it because they all look like they're having such a good time that you can't help but get sucked in.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, Jake and Lily have their love scene and all that happens. And then it looks like...
Which there were deleted scenes.
Yeah, tell me about that.
By the way. Okay, so one of the deleted scenes that they don't show in most of the airings of Confidence is there's... at the end of their escapade of them finally getting it on, she starts explaining her backstory and how, the first time that she started doing something criminal was whenever she was a candy striper. A guy that she met was giving her pills, and then the guy that was giving her pills made an advance towards her, and so she stabbed him with a scalpel. And wow. Jake says to her, "Did you kill him?" And she says, "I don't know." And then that's the end of the scene. But it's like you get this impression that, they had a full conversation and they learned a lot about each other in those moments. And I kind of wish that those scenes hadn't been deleted because it shows how they really built rapport. And that's why he was so willing to trust her to, not screw him, even though the audience totally thinks she did screw him until the last moment.
Well, and it's also keeping it open where she stabbed this guy and didn't know whether or not she even killed him. I think kind of toys with your expectations on whether or not she's really malicious or whether she, what she's capable of. Like, we don't know what she's capable of. According to that deleted scene, even she doesn't know what she's really done. And I think that lends itself to the uncertainty later on where you don't know if she's really turned against Jake or not.
Exactly. And that, like I said, if you get the chance to find that deleted scene, I highly recommend checking it out. But, that's the one problem with whenever we're streaming movies versus having the DVDs, because on the DVDs, we generally get to see all the deleted scenes and all that good stuff, or you get to see the theatrical cut or etc. But it is interesting that some of the scenes that we miss out on are sometimes very storytelling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah,
but yeah, I liked that scene, and I can't believe it didn't make the final cut.
I wonder if, and maybe when they were editing the movie together, it just felt like maybe the momentum slowed down too much, because as I recall, it's the love scene, and then pretty much right after that is the present is the kind of the cut to the reveal that Lily is also there while Morris Chestnut is kind of threatening Jake. So maybe they just felt like, all right, look, they're all close. And then, the twists were, are they though? Because look what's happening. So I wonder if maybe they felt that
does make sense.
They felt like it kind of slowed the movie down in a way. Even though, I agree. It does give a little useful background information on Lily, who just kind of drops into this movie out of nowhere. I mean, he literally bumps into her twice, and that's how they meet. And you don't really learn much about her going through the film, and other than she's a pickpocket and she's really good at this. And I guess that's it. That's Lily. She doesn't get in that way. It's very underwritten in the way that a lot of like female lead roles tend to be, where the man, the male lead gets a lot of story and development and character, and then the woman is there to basically just in service of the man storyline. And I feel like, that unfortunately that's what happened here. It looks like the more details of her character kind of got stripped away in service of his story. But
yeah, well, speaking of his story though, I after she pickpocketed him the first time, when he first comes home and realizes that he's, had his wallet stolen, I was really amused by that scene, because as he's walking into his apartment and he hits the button for his answering machine, I don't know if you caught it, but the 3 messages that are on his machine are all addressed to a different person.
Yes, yeah.
And so it's like, well, what's his real name? Yeah,
right, exactly.
And so I think it was like Bruce and Steve or whatever, and would you call me back? And like how he's getting all these women to want to talk to him, and yet none of them know his real name. None of them know the real Jake.
Right.
Until Lily.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, no, I did.
So he finally meets his equal.
Exactly. I did pick up on that. I thought that was a very subtle way of establishing that, oh no, he just cons everybody all the time. Like whether it's a job or whether it's just trying to, hook up with somebody. He's just like, he's always playing an angle, basically.
Yeah.
Until, he meets his match. But I mean, honestly, even if you're involved in a life of crime, I'm pretty sure everyone would drop a life of crime to be with Rachel Weisz. So, just saying. Just throwing that out
I would
there.
drop that.
Right?
I would drop my life to be with Rachel Weisz.
I know. She's with James Bond now, so that's, he dropped whatever he had going on. James Bond is like, forget this. I'm going to marry Rachel Weisz. And, so she's really good at selling that. And, this was obviously one of her films that I hadn't seen, and literally everything I've seen her in, I'm like, man, she's so great in everything. How is she so great in everything? Like she's charming, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, she brings all these different things to all the different characters, and then seeing her kind of play a different wrinkle of her, her skill set here, I thought was really fun, and just makes me appreciate her as an actress even more.
Yeah, she's very versatile.
Right.
Faces of Rachel.
Exactly.
That should be her autobiography.
The Faces of Rachel. Are you volunteering to ghostwrite it for her?
Sure, yeah. Oh my God, can you imagine how cool that would be to like do it? And yet at the same time, I'd be terrified that I'd screw it up.
Well, that would also be a really hard thing to work on and not get credit for. So you'd be like, can I be like at the, how you see a lot of celebrity biopics where it's like, Kim Kardashian with so-and-so. And you're like, okay, so so-and-so did all the writing, basically, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, okay, fine. I guess I don't actually want to ghostwrite that. Because I'm far too vain to keep my mouth shut about something like that.
Right.
To sign an NDA for that? No, I can't
That'd
do
be
that.
rough. That'd be rough.
Nope. That'd be really rough. So fine, I'll write the unauthorized biography.
There you go.
Under my name. And then later we'll have a statement that comes out from her PR person that said, I have nothing to do with this. She wrote it on her own. I did not contribute in any way. Well, I just did a little bit of foreshadowing.
There you go. That's your secret plan. That's your secret project that you're working on right now.
It is. That's my real secret project. You found me out.
See?
I was trying to fleece you, but no. No, I am not writing a book about Rachel Weisz.
I love that you feel the need to clarify that, as if people can't tell that we were joking.
No, well, I would read a book about Rachel Weisz.
For legal reasons, I need to clarify.
For legal reasons, I'd
like to state for the record that I am not writing an unauthorized biography of Rachel Weisz, as the preceding joke has implied.
Yes. So see, now if I do get internet famous, all of these words are going to come back to haunt me.
There you go. That's what we're here for. We're here to fleece our guests on the Crooked Table podcast.
Well, fleece you, man.
Yeah, fleece you too.
Fleece you, yeah. Okay.
So back to the film, I guess. So whenever I see a movie like this and someone says that, oh, this shady thing or whatever happened in my past, I feel like it always takes place in Tampa. Because the whole Bhutan flashback is in Tampa.
Oh my God!
Which, spoilers, listeners, that's where I am right now. So this is the way that the world sees Tampa, Florida, and I think that's hilarious. It's always place some shit went down in Tampa. I'm like, yeah, that sounds about right.
Well, I mean, a couple things. First of all, there actually was a petition for a while to rename Florida the Freak Show State instead of the Sunshine State. I don't know if you knew about this. It was many years ago. Yeah, there was an actual petition. I don't know how many signatures were. I don't know how many signatures were on it, but I know who was behind it, and I think it's hilarious. And also, just like in the confidence game, how we keep seeing Rachel Weisz's character showing off her sexiness to try to get the Mark's attention and all that good stuff. Well, you can't spell Tampa without TNA.
It's true. That's true. I mean, it's a town known for its strip clubs, so
Absolutely.
Makes
well,
sense.
And I mean, think about it. Even our strip clubs make it into some of the most popular rap songs.
Yeah. Well, I remember when The Punisher was shot here in 2000. I guess the movie came out in 2004, so it probably shot the year that this movie came out in 2003. There was there were like shots of the exterior of 2001 Odyssey and the Falk Theater, like very notable locales within Tampa. And that was
Well, and I
kind of
mean,
a big
even
deal.
Malio's was his like headquarters in the
Oh
Punisher.
yeah, that's right.
And yet when they talk about Tampa in the Confidence movie, if I'm not mistaken, the scene they showed, that wasn't Tampa.
No, I don't believe it was. Yeah, I don't think
I mean,
so.
everything I was looking at in that shot, because I even paused it and was like doing a frame by frame, trying to see if anything recognizable
hell
from
is
Tampa
this?
was there. Yeah, I'm like, this is not Tampa. Who lied?
I mean, yeah,
They fleeced us.
They did. They did. Bastards.
Can't even get our city right. You're going to go and call us out for being a problem, and yet you're not even showing the right things.
Well, I mean, yeah. Filming in Florida is not like I think they used to be more of a tax cut or a tax credit or whatever to filming here, but I think that we don't really offer that very much anymore. So everybody's shooting things like, for example, all the Marvel movies are shot in these giant sound stages in Atlanta. So all those movies are made there. Georgia must have, like, I guess, offer a better tax incentive for filmmakers than Florida. So we just get counterfeit Tampa in this movie, unfortunately.
Counterfeit Tampa. Oh my God, that's hilarious.
They should have compromised on the TNA thing, and at least, like, on the Welcome to Tampa sign had the first A, the M, and the P like small or something. Have the T and the A on the sides be bigger. Something. Come on.
That would have been hilarious.
So I think we're kind
Call
of...
your congressman.
I know, right? I know there's a lot going on in the world right now, and everybody has all these issues. I'm not going to get into politics,
but why are we not funding this?
Yeah, this should be our priority. Forget about the controversy over, like, border security and
who cares about homelessness
right.
and all this other crap?
This is the important issues. You heard it right here on the Cricket Table podcast.
We're here to talk about the important issues. No, we're not. Absolutely not.
There you go again, clarifying. You're like, don't use this against me, guys.
I don't care if you try to use it against me. I know I'm full of shit anyway.
Well, I mean, that's part of being a writer. I mean, I think I always tell Kai, sort of. I always tell Kai, I'm like, that's, one of the best things that came out of my English degree is the ability to write like 500 words on literally anything with basically very little information to work from. It's just like you can spin content out of nothing. It's basically sort of a low key version of a bullshit artist in a way.
Oh my God! As writers, we're con artists,
right? Pretty much. I've learned something. We've all learned something about ourselves today.
Yeah, that all content creators. Hey, there is con and content creation.
True. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I think we're kind of winding down with the film itself, and then we can get to final thoughts. So good.
Yeah, because if we're not careful, this will be as long as the movie.
That's true. We're getting there. And just like the movie, we want to jump on the podcast, jump off before people have any time to realize what they've just heard.
Exactly.
We don't want to blow anybody's mind. And
one last spoiler alert: everything we've said in this entire podcast, none of it happened in the movie.
That's true. Spoilers.
Can you imagine? Wouldn't that be like the best ending of ever? Like, everything we just said about this movie did not exist.
Reviewing a fictional movie, basically.
Yes.
Like, I thought it was crazy.
There you go. That's your next episode.
I have to see if April 1st falls on a publishing day of the podcast, because that would be hilarious. Like, and then the part when the aliens came down, and I was like, what is going on? They just flew into the center of the earth, and there was like dinosaurs and shit was exploding everywhere. I don't know. That sounds like a great movie. I'm gonna start writing that now.
I think April 1st is actually a Monday. When do you publish?
Mondays. We post on Mondays.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Hysterical. Now you know what you have to do. Yep, April Fool's Day is a Monday in 2019.
Wow. There you go.
I just set you up for the perfect episode.
You just did.
But now you're gonna have to cut this out so that nobody knows it's coming.
Damn. I can't let people know my secrets. So the finale here, pretty much everybody gets arrested. It's basically the perfect ending for the main characters. All the bad guys get arrested. Jake's not dead. Lily and him and Paul Giamatti and the other guy, Miles, I forgot the actor's name, they just ride into the sunset with Bhutan getting his cut because he's the guy from Customs. So any thoughts on that finale? I mean, I guess you love it because they get out. I mean, that's what we all want. That's what the whole movie builds to.
Absolutely. I think it's perfect. It's not quite Ocean's 11 where they're walking away from the fountains of the Bellagio perfect, but it's pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm. The first time you saw this, were there any twists towards the end that you totally didn't see coming, or were you kind of like, I thought that might happen?
Yeah, I think I expected all of them.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of wish that Lupus had died faster. That's the only thing.
Bastard.
Yeah.
We don't like him.
How you gonna go and kill Big Al? It didn't even let him finish his food.
I know.
Come on.
That was his character. That was Big Al's character quirk. He dies 5 minutes into the movie, but his character quirk is how much he loves sandwiches. I thought that was
not just sandwiches, but he was eating Chinese food and he didn't even
right
get to finish it.
Right in the middle of his egg foo young, they say too.
And yet Lupus calls it Kung Pao chicken.
Right. Yeah. Plot hole. It's a little bit inconsistent.
He couldn't even get that right.
Yeah, exactly. Lupus, jackass.
Bastard.
So, are there any final thoughts on Confidence? I mean, you've seen it several times, including yesterday. So,
I'm gonna go watch it again right now.
Wow, that's commitment. So, what would you say to people that haven't seen this movie to recommend it? And I would ask if it still holds up after the first time you saw it, but you literally just watched it and you still love it. So yeah, what would you, people there like me that are either haven't seen this or have barely heard of it, what would you tell them to recommend they check it out?
I would say that if you liked Robin Hood and Ocean's 11, you should totally watch this too.
Nice. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I don't think there's anything particularly, like, it's not a groundbreaking movie, but it's just a fun addition to the genre. And
yeah, it's definitely not groundbreaking. There's no ground broken in this entire movie.
Right, pretty much. It's a ground free zone.
If you're shocked by anything that happens in this movie, you really need to watch more movies.
Pretty much, exactly. But you get some Rachel Weisz, you get some Paul Giamatti, you get some Dustin Hoffman being kind of gross but also fun to watch, and Edward Burns doing his Edward Burns thing. I mean, I think it's telling that we talked about this movie for about an hour and we didn't really talk much about Edward Burns. I think he's fine. I think he just kind of does his Burnsian thing, I guess. Whatever that is.
He's all right.
He's all right.
He's not the most important thing in the movie.
Right. Exactly.
Just because he's the star doesn't mean he's important.
Well, I mean, you see him in this movie and you know, he's fine as his character, but then you also sort of understand why he's not really a thing anymore. You're like, okay, there's nothing really exceptional about this guy. I mean, he's kind of good. He's kind of good looking. He's kind of got some swagger and stuff, but there's nothing that really, you know, he's the lead of this movie and he doesn't really pop. He's kind of upstaged by pretty much everybody around him. So
he's a good looking, boring guy.
Pretty much.
That you want to win.
So Ashley, why don't you tell people listening where they can find you online?
You can find me at famousashleygrant.com, or I am on Facebook and Instagram at famousashleygrant.
Ashley, thank you for being on the Crooked Table podcast. This was fun. And
thank you for having me.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
Yes, that'd be awesome. And maybe we could do it about Fight Club if we can ever find a loophole around not being allowed to talk about Fight Club.
I know. You'll have to see if Tyler Durden will give you a exception. Kind of give
or hey, maybe just maybe we could actually talk about a current film.
There you go. Or that.
If you're interested in joining me on the show to chat about one of your favorite films, head on over to crookedtable.com/guest. Or you can consider supporting the show at patreon.com/crookedtable. Of course, you can always find more podcasts, reviews, videos, and other movie-related goodies over at crookedtable.com. Until next time, this has been the Crooked Table Podcast, and I've been Rob.
This has been a production of crookedtable.com. All rights reserved.
C-R-O-O-K-E-D.